Hi, everyone. I'm so thrilled to have you here. Today on my podcast, I am speaking to the most amazing author, Aleesah Darlison. Let me introduce you to her. Aleesah is an award winning author, naturalist, and lifelong learner. She's written over 65 books for children, including picture books, chapter books, novels, and series. She's won and been shortlisted for numerous awards. She's a keen observer of birds and animals. Aleesah enjoys sharing her passion and knowledge for the natural world and the environment. She's also made it a mission to champion the cause of children, and she loves writing stories that empower, educate, and inspire young readers to celebrate their uniqueness and their strengths. Wow, Aleesah, you are doing some incredible things for our next generation. And I'm sure that all generations are enjoying your work. You're an amazing author and you travel around everywhere. You've got the dream lifestyle, really, that I think every author dreams of. You go and you're staying in hotels and you're speaking to these groups of wonderful children who just adore you and they even make gifts for you and everything. So, Aleesah, welcome. Tell us where you're from and where you are today and what the weather's like.
Thanks, Cindy. You make it sound like a wonderful life, and it really is. I love it. I'm on the Sunshine Coast, and it is really warm today, but I love the warmer weather. I've already been out for a walk with my dog and spotted a stingray and fish and a gigantic locust. So, yes, it's been great.
Gigantic locusts. Oh, did you
Yeah.
scurry away or you like them? Do you like
Well,
them?
I took a photo, but
Oh,
yeah, didn't go
you
too
didn't like hold it or anything and pat it.
far. Not today.
So that's good. It's a bit scary. And you've been showing some photos of a lot of wildlife, which I love seeing. It's absolutely beautiful. And now I want to talk to you about your inspiration as an author, because what I want to do today is help our viewers to understand what it feels like to live the life of an author, because you really are living the dream, Aleesah, that most published authors hope for and dream of. So let's go back though to when it all began. Where did you first realize that you wanted to be an author?
Well, I think it was when I was 16. I entered a writing competition. I won $10,000 worth of computers for my school.
Wow.
Yeah, that was great. And then I also entered some short stories and poems in an anthology project. It was a book that was put together for local teenagers in the Manning Valley where I grew up. So that was when I was 16. I'd been reading and writing since I was 4 and totally obsessed with books my whole life. But until that point, I'd never thought, well, I could be an author as well. And the problem was when I did tell people at 16 I wanted to be an author, they said, it's too hard, you'll never make it, and you'll never make any money out of it. You know, it's too competitive, and you just don't get those kind of financial rewards. Well, the thing is, nothing is easy. Everything takes hard work and commitment, and depending on how you do things, you can actually make, a living out of being a creative. So it wasn't until quite a few years later that I actually came back to writing as my true love and my passion and something that was burning inside me.
Wow. So you've been on a real journey. What made you turn to writing then? What was that defining moment that you realized you could do it as a career?
Well, I think it was wanting to do it as a career. I was probably in my early 30s. I'd had started having children and I wanted to be a stay-at-home mum. So I throw myself into everything. But I'd been working, I went to university, I studied marketing, and I've been working in the corporate world. So then I stopped working and I'm looking after my children, and that was just lovely. But there were moments of time during the day and mentally where I needed something else, where I had a little bit of space and I needed stimulation. And obviously, when you've got little ones, you're reading them lots of picture books. And I thought I need to contribute to my family, and I was used to contributing financially. So I started entering 25 words or less competitions, and
Wow.
I was winning so many prizes that if I got home from being out and there wasn't a package on my doorstep or some sort of message for me that I'd won something, I was disappointed. So I thought, well, if I can write 25 words, I can write a picture book. And I've been reading lots of picture books. And I also thought, I always wanted to be an author. You only get one chance at this. It's now or never. I've got this time. And I can be an author from home. You can work from home while I have kids. It's so easy to juggle. But anyway, I soon learnt that that wasn't completely the case, but I could still try to be an author. And that's when I started on the path, properly learning how to write, attending workshops and courses, and immersing myself in the industry, not treating it as a hobby any longer, but treating it as something I really wanted to do.
Wow, I really admire that. So, you are not only a creative, passionate woman, you're also a good businesswoman. And those two things together are very fascinating. I mean, a lot of our audiences are retired, accomplished women, so they will really relate to you. And even though, many of these women are also empty nesters. And it's just so beautiful looking to see what your journey has been as an accomplished woman and is right now, too, as an accomplished woman. And I find that really fascinating. I just have this question for you too. Is it difficult for you to keep your ideas developing and for your new books that are coming out when you're very busy doing the marketing side and the business side and all of that? In other words, do you ever dream that you could just be retired and just write just your books and only do that? I was going to say illustrate, but I'm talking about author here. I'm talking about writing. So, do you ever dream of just retiring to only write, or do you really enjoy that experience of going out and sharing your books with people? Tell us a little bit more about that experience when you step out of the writing space, out of the creativity, and into the world to share your books. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. I think um, you have to be two types of personalities in the one person. And it is a very different world where you're promoting your books or just, earning a living from doing talks and workshops for children or adults to being at home and writing and creating. But when I am on the road, I do try to draw inspiration from around me so I can keep that creativity going. I don't think it's easy to write perhaps a novel while you're on the road. I know authors who do, and it's really hard. It's really tiring because you put so much energy into your presentations and your performances, and that's really what it is about these days. You can't just get up onto a stage and read your book, sit on a chair and read your book. I have multimedia presentations that are very interactive for children. You've got to keep them amused and entertained. And I guess you are judged a little bit because you are in a public space and performing. So I do love the presentations and the performing and the traveling. It's very enriching and it's enriching for your writing. And it's so wonderful to connect with kids who have read your work, who love it, who love you. Like kids are just the most amazing. They just give you feedback. It's just beautiful feedback. But I must say, teachers have been incredible to me this year and previously as well. I've just had a really bumper year with all of the schools I've been visiting, the libraries, the librarians, and of course, people in general. Like if I'm at libraries and presenting to adult authors or adult emerging or aspiring authors, they're also wonderful. They're sometimes better behaved than children too, but
I
but
can relate.
the kids give you their feedback immediately, and you can see whether your talk is working or not.
Mm,
With adults, they are very, much better behaved and controlled, but it's not always easy to see if you're hitting the mark with what you're saying. It's kind of
yeah.
till the end and everyone goes, "Oh, that was so amazing." And you're like, "Oh, phew." But no, I do love both sides of it. And it can be difficult being creative while you're on the road, for me anyway.
So do you separate some of your lifestyle, like allow some for creative writing and then the time on the road? And how do you separate that?
I think after 15 years doing this, I've become a lot better at doing it and you kind of segment it. I know when I am on the road as well. There's a lot of actual administration to do and, checking out itineraries or answering emails and looking at the next place that you've got to be. Uh, Still doing marketing and promotion in between because I've got a lot of books on the boil as well. And so I will try to block off time for it, but I also go a little bit easier on myself these days because I do have such a full plate. And then when I'm at home, if I can get all the admin out of the way and focus on writing and being creative, that's a really good time for me. I do find that when you're on the road so much, you think, I'm never going to write again. Oh my goodness, that's so hard. This is taking up so much of my time. But you start to build up a bank of ideas, even in your mind, or I write a lot of things down as well. I have my notebooks. And then as soon as I'm at my desk, it's like, it's go time. Let's just start creating and getting those words out of your head or out of your notebook and onto the computer, because that's when it really starts to take shape and you can work a lot more quickly with your editing.
I just think it's so exciting listening to you, Aleesah, because you are an amazing example of a woman who can integrate your logical with your creative. And just the way you're speaking is so passionate about both areas. So it's fantastic having this lovely coffee chat with you, because I'm sure that's going to inspire other women as well to see how it can work. Because so many people feel like they can only be in one or the other. They can only be in the space of being a logical mindset person, and maybe that creative just isn't for them. But the way that you're explaining it just shows how it can be integrated, and it's just such a beautiful dance that you're doing. I admire how you bring your creativity into your logical work, into the actual business side of it when you are, because even when you are presenting, obviously there's those elements of creativity in there but you seem to be so organized and so well planned that you do have time for the creative expression. And also the way that you were saying that you take notes and that you are still looking for the next book. I love that. I love that. You never really stop, do you, with your creativity, even though you're doing the logic. And I can relate to that. But I think the most valuable thing you're doing for yourself is getting those little recordings that you do, of the birds and the wildlife, and taking those little notes, because like you said, then when you get back to the desk, you're not void of creation. And this is something that I always tell to my mentored students as well. I'm saying to them that the drawing experience, which is so similar to the writing experience, they're all forms of creative expression, aren't they? And they're
Oh,
all
absolutely.
artists, we're all artists. And so I'm saying to them, don't expect yourself to just sit down and look in front of a blank page and draw. It doesn't happen like that. It happens exactly like what you're saying, gathering the information in your everyday life and storing it away in here and a little bit of note taking. So thank you for that. That was just amazing. I
Oh,
love
thanks.
hearing, oh, I just love hearing about your process, and your lifestyle. You're a living embodiment of a creative lifestyle, and successfully as well. So that's
Well, thank
oh,
you.
sorry.
I do enjoy the traveling, and
Mm.
I think that that is one way to actually get inspiration. It keeps things fresh. Like you learn so much when you're traveling and seeing new things, and some you can take to the book, some you just can't. But it's a good idea to get those notes down and the videos, like you say, and things like that, and just keeping your mind and your ideas fresh and open all the time, because the the writing world really does need new things. I think we've got a lot of the same things over and over and over, and I'm
I
sure
agree.
publishers see that as well.
I absolutely agree. That is just such a good point, Aleesah. And your stories are beautiful. They really have a wonderful message. And you've got the brevity in there too, which is just so hard to get. So many authors find that hard to get that brevity, You hit right to the point. It's just, I love it. Anyway, you've got a beautiful writing style. So,
Thank
what would
you.
you say your favorite thing is about being an author and the lifestyle that you lead?
I think it's a freedom of expression, freedom to put your ideas out there and have them welcomed as well. freedom most of the time to do what you want. Like I create a lot of stories that don't actually get published, but I still love them. I still think they're good, and maybe timing will be right one day, or I'll find another way to get them out there. And just that ability to be creative and to follow the passions that I really enjoy. Like I love animals, so I write animal stories. I love fantasy, so I write fantasy stories. Things that have happened, my experiences and knowledge that I've gained, I can put that into stories. So it's that full freedom of expression, and no one can stop you from doing that, whether it gets published in a book or that hundreds or thousands of people read, or whether it's just something that you're doing for yourself and sharing with your family. No one can stop you from doing that, and that's yours.
Oh, I love that. It almost brings tears to my eyes because the passion I can hear in you. And I love that. I love the way that writing is such a fulfilling creative expression for you. And also another that leads me to another area too. You are a published author. You work with publishing companies. Can you tell us a bit more? How did that first begin? How did you first become a published author? As in a company publishing you. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, small steps. I like to think of it as from little things, big things grow. And I always wanted to be commercially published. That was my goal. And you at the time, you were told just start off small, and so I was submitting to competitions, lots and lots of competitions, and magazines, and I got my first publication break in a magazine published by Di Bates. She's a multi-published author as well in Australia, who's given a lot of people a chance. So she had her magazine, and I got my first story published in that, and then I had several stories published in the school magazine, the New South Wales School Magazine, and just winning competitions, writing competitions. And I was in a writers group at the same time. And I thought, the ultimate goal is to get commercially published in book format. And in the writers group, other people were getting published, and I was winning competitions to getting little short stories published. So I thought, yeah, my writing's okay, but why isn't it happening for me? But I was just writing in every spare moment. I didn't watch TV for several years. I was just writing, writing, writing. The goal, the ambition, the drive for it was really strong. And I was submitting to every publisher out there, every manuscript I wrote. These were uh, picture books, they were chapter books, they were novels, they were series, like all ages, all
Wow.
stages. And then my first picture book got picked up by Windy Hollow Books. And it was the first one picked up. But because I've been writing so much and putting so much out there and had a pipeline, it took 4 years to publish that book, so by then I'd had 16 books published. It was my 16th book published, and the
Well
first book to
done.
actually come out was
Mm.
Puggle's Problem with Wombat Books, and that was once it was contracted, it took about a year to come out. Most books do. And so 2010, June, July 2010 was my first picture book to come out, Puggle's Problem with Wombat Books, and I've done a lot of books with them since, so it's been a really great partnership.
That's magnificent. Did they just discover you somewhere?
Well, it was slush pile, and like I've submitted to many publishers and been picked up from slush pile, I haven't always been agented. And so I just submitted to them, and my story was about an echidna, a baby echidna, Puggle's Problem, and they're Wombat Books. And I thought, oh, surely they'll love Australian animals. But Wombat Books doesn't have that ethos of just publishing, um, books about Australian animals or non-fiction stories. It was more the moral in the story that the publisher really liked. And so it was about learning patience and something
Wow.
children really need to learn, but I put it in the format of a little puggle, a little echidna waiting to get his spines. He needs to be patient and wait to get his spines. So that worked for them and it worked for me. And so, yeah, the rest is history.
It's so beautiful. We definitely need to know more about all these books that you've published and that are out there. So I'm going to talk to you about that afterwards, and we'll get a little list so that I can let our viewers know. and where to find them too. So now at the moment, are you working with a publisher? What, one publisher or more?
Because I have relationships with multiple publishers, I work with several. At the moment, lately, I've been working with Wombat Books, Rochelle Stevens there, and I've just had Clara Capybara come out, as you know.
Show us. We
So
love this
that's my
one. Oh,
little
this is
book
my
there.
favorite.
She's beautiful, and I love capybaras. I
Yeah.
visited a lot of zoos and wildlife parks to see real ones. And I've published Grace the Amazing, which is a novel, a really beautiful novel that has been shortlisted for the Korean Morning Sun Awards, which is like a Yaba or a Koala Book Awards in South Korea. So it's a children's own awards that they nominate. So that's
Oh,
really
well
exciting.
done. Oh my
And
gosh, all the best with that. You'll have to keep us informed.
thank you, thank you. I'm hoping to go to South Korea in April next year.
Mm.
So I'll be there for a couple of weeks visiting schools, right about the time that the books are being, finally judged
Well,
for that.
that's good timing.
It is, it
Getting
is.
ready to collect your award.
Oh, no, no,
Stay
no.
positive. You got to be
I,
positive.
I mean, you just never know if you're going to be shortlisted. You never know if you're going to win an
Yeah.
award. You try your hardest to write to an award, and then there's all these other beautiful books as well, or you just miss the notes with some people. You just don't know. And then with others, they just love your story, and you're like, really? My book? You like my story? So you just never know. You never know. But it'll be nice to go to South Korea. I've not been there before. And oh, I do have a new book coming out with Wombat Books next year. And I also have one with the Australian Space Agency Association.
Very
And
exciting.
yeah, so uh, very different projects, very
Mm.
exciting, very interesting. And with every project, I just throw myself into it. I love what I'm working on at that particular point in time. A lot of kids will say to me, what's your favorite book, that you've written? And I love them all. You can't choose. And
Mm.
you are totally in love with that story when you're writing it. You have to be.
And so, can you tell us a little bit more about the process? So, you've written the story and then you send it to your publisher. What happens next? Do you have to do lots of reiterations and do you work with the illustrator or not?
Each one is different. And just because I've written the story and sent it to a publisher I've worked with before doesn't mean they will say yes.
Mhm.
Sometimes it just doesn't suit their list, doesn't suit their timing. They've got something else the same. That happens. Like sometimes people are writing books about soccer and there's multiple series of them on the market. So if a publisher's got one series, they won't do another one. And, that series might be in the pipeline, so you've not heard of it yet. So there can be a bit of a timing issue. So I submit to publishers and wait to get a response. Once a publisher has agreed to publish it, you then wait for the contract. You get the contract. If it is a picture book, obviously it has to have illustrations. Sometimes publishers will ask for my feedback or my input as to whether I have a certain I guess, style of illustration in mind. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Most of the times I'm really happy with whatever the publisher offers to me in terms of the illustrator, because these illustrators are just amazing artists. They really are. And then once an illustrator is decided upon, I will probably receive black and white character drawings,
Mhm.
sketches, and I'll say, oh, yeah, that's really good. And, sometimes there's feedback. Sometimes you're just, again, happy with everything. And then you wait a little bit longer and you might start to see some of the draft page illustrations, then some of the color illustrations come through, then, PDFs of placement of text and the color illustrations. And that's getting close to finished. But it's up to me as the author then to make sure that my words are all correct, my words match the pictures are all indicating what's in, so there's a whole team effort. I don't always meet the illustrator. I
No.
don't always know them. And I really do like, I think publishers like this as well. the process to be quite distinct. It's different if you're self-publishing and managing that whole project yourself. You're kind of moving on to other things or looking at your marketing for the book while the illustrator is illustrating it and doing their best work. Because when you're commercially published, the author gets 5% of royalties and the illustrator gets 5% of royalties. So it's kind of this process of giving over your project to the illustrator so it can become theirs. And you don't want to interfere too much. You don't want to be
That's
too
beautiful.
controlling.
That's really beautiful. So I wanted to know about that integration, how much creative license you allow the illustrator, because obviously you're very good to work with, because that's why you've had so many contracts and so much. So they love working with you. And it sounds as though one of those reasons why they like repeatedly working with you is because you have that ability to be able to let a little part of your writing go, and that must be hard. And you've just said that you allow that, and that to me is really special, because you're not over controlling the process. You're allowing them to come, the illustrator to come to the party as well. And that's beautiful, Aleesah. You're allowing them to have their form of creative expression. But I think it's really good too that you do oversee the project. And so you say, I guess, do you ever say to the illustrator, obviously through your agent, do
Oh,
you
through
ever
the
say
publisher,
things like the
through the
publisher,
editor
sorry?
or publisher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
publisher, sorry. Yes, yes, that's right. And so, do you ever say to them, well, I don't like this particular way it's described. Can it be done differently? Do you give them that depth of feedback?
Oh, I am allowed to give feedback. I would be very diplomatic with it, but just, like, oh, maybe the tail of this animal needs to be a little bit bushier or something, or its eyes not quite right. And that just feeds back through the publisher. And then they add their feedback, which is probably something similar to what I'm thinking sometimes, to the illustrator. So I have learnt to let go. It's never really been a huge problem for me. Like,
Mm,
I value the efforts that illustrators put into their work. And sometimes they come up with things that you just can't imagine. No matter how much I have an image in my head of things, illustrators, it's their job to bring words to life. It's their job to make things visually enticing for readers and viewers, etc. So I've never really had a problem letting go of my story. I
mm,
want it to be shared
I
with
love
the
that.
publisher, the illustrator, with the world. I know some authors, particularly when they're starting out, they think they can never give over their work to an illustrator. But I guess I've been through the process so many times that I trust the process and I trust the people that I'm working with and that they have great judgment as well.
Isn't that beautiful? And can we know the name of the illustrator?
Oh, yes. The illustrator for Clara Capybara is Ruth Mary Smith, and she's done quite a few books now,
Mm.
and she does amazing work. She's very, very clever. So you'll have to check out her other work as well.
Yes, and I've got my little book, my Clara
We
Capybara,
go.
on the shelf, and I've looked through it and read it a few times now, so it's absolutely gorgeous. Well, Aleesah, I think we've covered nearly all of the questions. Is there anything you'd like to share with us before we go today?
Oh, I'd just like to say thank you for your beautiful interview. And to everyone wanting to write or illustrate, just give it a go. That's all you can do. Just give it a go. And I guess for me, as I was thinking, you only get one chance at it. And if you've got the time and the energy and a little bit of creativity, give it a go. You might want to start doing courses and mentorships like you offer, Cindy, and that will help you. It gives you that support. But
Mm.
absolutely no one can stop you from being creative. And it's a really big part of yourself that you should explore if that's something you want to do.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And as everybody knows, I don't mentor with writing. but I mentor with illustration. But look,
Yes.
it's just been so beautiful, Aleesah, and we've seen a whole other side of you, just radiating out, and you're such an inspiration. And thank you too for all that you're doing for our next generations to come. So you are amazing. Well done. And thank you, everybody, for listening. That ends our podcast today, and I will see you again very soon for another lovely coffee chat. Bye.